see what happens next.
Tomorrow night at our regular time, 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific, Ed Bradley of 60 Minutes will be our guest. 60 Minutes doing a feature on yours truly tomorrow night on 60 Minutes 2 at 8 o'clock on CBS. But right now, it's time to turn it over. It's 1 a.m. in the morning here, but hey, he carries on. He's live, folks. This is not a repeat. No. This is NewsNight with Aaron Brown next. I like the light look, I like the depth. He's been here today for 17 and a half hours working on this show. It better be good, Aaron.
It better be. Thank you, Mr. King, I think. Sure you don't want to do another hour, huh? Good evening again, everyone. It isn't over yet. It might have ended for all intents and purposes tonight. A John Kerry sweep might well have done that, but he didn't, and it isn't. But Kerry didn't need to end it tonight. He ran well enough, very well in two big states, and so the wind that has been in his back since Iowa is still there. He may also feel a bit of the hot breath. John Edwards is not going away. It was make or break for the North Carolina senator, and a sweeping win in the South, combined with an impressive showing in Oklahoma, means Edwards is still alive. And there is more. Wes Clark had his best night yet and lives to fight yet another day, which is more than can be said for Joe Lieberman, who called it quits tonight. It is, of course, the election that tops the whip and dominates the program. And we begin with Kelly Wallace and the John Kerry campaign. A headline, please.
John Kerry and his aides are very happy. One advisor calling it a show of force, a sign that Kerry can win in every part of the country. But the frontrunner also has to contend with this. He was not the only candidate with something to celebrate tonight.
Kelly, thank you. The Edwards campaign celebrating their first win of the primary season at home in the South. Frank Buckley is there. Frank, a headline.
John Edwards said he had to win here in South Carolina, and he did. It was the first test in the South. It was the first test among a significant group of African-American voters. But the bigger test is still to come. It'll answer the question, can John Edwards win outside of the South?
Now to the Dean campaign, which is already looking ahead to this weekend's contest. Candy Crowley following that campaign. Candy, a headline.
Aaron, the man who led most of the polls just a month ago is now 0 for 9, but Howard Dean is going on.
Andy, thank you, and an important night for General Wesley Clark. He got himself a win. Dan Lothian with that campaign. Dan's headline.
Aaron, it's a razor-thin margin here in Oklahoma, but retired General Wesley Clark is declaring victory and gearing up for his next fight in the South. Aaron?
Dan, thank you. Still ahead tonight, we'll have a lot more on tonight's primary elections and caucuses. Some interesting non-election stories in the program as well, including what Kobe Bryant said to the police in the immediate aftermath of an alleged sexual assault and what they did or did not say to him. Later, a fascinating story from France as the country debates a ban on any form of religious clothing in schools. And later, a big dose of your morning papers for this Wednesday morning. We're up so late tonight, we may actually go out to the newsstand and pick them up. All that and more in the hour ahead. A lot of politics, and here we go. We begin with the end of a very long day at the polls, the end of the line for one candidate, a major, if not unexpected, disappointment for another, a pretty fair surprise in Oklahoma, and for John Kerry, an exclamation point behind the word front runner.
Begin with the obvious. It was a good night for the frontrunner John Kerry. Not good enough to close the deal, to be sure, but good enough to say he is still the man to beat.
For the second time in a few days, a New England Patriot has won on the road.
Kerry won big in Missouri, the largest delegate prize of the night, and CNN projects him a winner in Arizona as well, the second biggest prize. He has now moved on to the Northwest, Washington State, which had been Dean country, but may now be up for grabs. Kelly Wallace is covering the Kerry campaign.
John Kerry and his advisors were clearly pleased with what happened tonight. One aide saying that winning 5 of 7 states, along with a strong showing in South Carolina and Oklahoma, shows that John Kerry can win in all parts of the country and with all ethnic groups. An aide saying he goes home with the largest number of delegates tonight.
It was also a good night, maybe even a very good night for John Edwards. He said he had to win in South Carolina, his backyard, and he won there big. But the night was more than a win in his backyard. He performed far better than anyone imagined in Oklahoma as well. And tonight, John Edwards may have turned this into a two-man race to the finish.
It's a long way from that little house in Seneca, South Carolina to here tonight.
CNN's Frank Buckley covered the race in South Carolina.
Well, this was a do-or-die state for Senator John Edwards, who was born here in Seneca, South Carolina, who represents North Carolina. One of his major campaign themes, the loss of jobs in South Carolina, more than 58,000 manufacturing jobs lost since 2001. Here's what he had to say about that tonight.
Tonight, all of you said that protecting America means protecting American jobs, that building one America means providing opportunity to all our children, no matter where they live, no matter who their family is, no matter what the color of their skin. Tonight, you said that the politics of lifting people up beats the politics of tearing people down.
Edwards believes that South Carolina is what he calls a critical bellwether state. He says the results here indicate that he can attract rural voters, African-American voters, and voters in the South. But the question remains, how well will he do outside of this region? Is he a regional candidate?
After Kerry and Edwards, things get a bit messy. Howard Dean didn't win a thing tonight, though no one thought he would. But even he thought he'd do better than he did. And now, with money tight, a quick jump-starting of his once formidable campaign is an absolute necessity.
We're gonna pick up some delegates tonight, and this is all about who gets the most delegates in Boston in July, and it's going to be us.
These are now very difficult days for the Dean camp. Long gone are the heady days of the front-runner. Candy Crowley is covering Dean.
Well, the votes are starting to come in. And we're going to have a tough night tonight, but you know what? Here's why we're going to keep going and going and going and going and going, just like the Energizing Butter.
In fact, right after his loss in New Hampshire, Dean decided to look beyond February 3rd to the Saturday states, Wisconsin and Michigan, where the campaign figured they would stand a better chance with the eclectic and diverse voting patterns in both of those states. The problem is, of course, that Dean also envisioned that he would be the last man standing against John Kerry. And at this moment, with the strong showings from Wesley Clark and John Edwards, there are others in the race.
And then there is Oklahoma. The numbers there tell a very simple story. It is very, very close and serve to cloud up the picture. Is his showing in Oklahoma enough, not just to keep Wes Clark alive, but to make him a threat to the top tier? Dan Lothian is covering Clark.
He had always said that it was important for him to win here and was confident that he would win, while CNN is not yet ready to call him a winner until it is certified by the state because of the razor-thin margins. Clark himself is claiming victory.
Oklahoma is okay by me.
It all ended tonight for Joe Lieberman. His failure to impress in New Hampshire was compounded by a poor showing across the board tonight. From the start, he never seemed to find a foothold among an angry Democratic electorate who may have found him too moderate, if not too nice. Surrounded by family and friends, he did that which is the hardest thing in politics to do. He ended the run.
I have decided tonight to end my quest for the presidency of the United States of America. Am I disappointed? Naturally. But am I proud of what we stood for in this campaign? You bet I am.
Politics is about ideas and image. It is also about being the right person at the right time. This was not Joe Lieberman's time. Bruce Morton covered the end tonight.
Lieberman is soft-voiced, something of a centrist. He got very favorable notices when he was Al Gore's running mate 4 years ago. This time, the voters seem to want somebody more confrontational, and he is not that kind of man.
There are still many big election nights ahead. Surprises are always possible. Maybe Howard Dean can regroup. Maybe General Clark uses tonight as a springboard. Maybe those things will happen. But tonight, at least, it seems the race, more so now than it was this morning, has a clear front runner in John Kerry, a clear chaser in John Edwards, as they head on to points west and south and in between.
The night. But there's more to the story tonight than simple math might suggest. Yes, who won the most races and how many delegates they got is an important part of the story. But so is who voted for whom, who showed up to cast a vote, what they thought was most important. Put another way, why they chose the guy they chose. Which brings us to the exit polls and a master of them, our senior political analyst, Bill Schneider. Good morning, Mr. Schneider.
Good morning, Aaron. Let's take a look at the map of the states that have been won by John Kerry, and you'll get an impression of the sweep that this man has enjoyed in this primary season. Look at this. In the East, he won New Hampshire and also Delaware today. In the West, Arizona, New Mexico, and North Dakota. In the Midwest, he won Iowa last month and Missouri, a major battleground state today. The only other state that was won by someone else, clearly won, was South Carolina, where he did come in a creditable second. So there's a pretty strong sweep to all of this. Now, take a look at how John Edwards won that race in South Carolina. He did it by dominating moderate voters, moderate Democrats. He clearly got almost half the vote in that category. Moderate Democrats are something that the Democrats have to keep in line, and that is why a lot of people are wondering, wouldn't he be a good addition to a ticket if John Kerry is the nominee? Finally, what was the real motivation behind the victories for John Kerry? Take a look at the Missouri voters, where he enjoyed a big victory. Among those who said the most important thing to them was defeating President Bush, 2/3 voted for John Kerry, more than 3-1 over his closest competitor, John Edwards. Electability, that was Kerry's strong suit. It enabled him to rally the Democratic base in Missouri and other states. Union members, minorities, seniors, partisan Democrats all flocked to John Kerry because they all desperately want to beat George Bush, and they think John Kerry is the best qualified to do that.
I was looking through exit polling stuff tonight, and one of the things I saw is something like 80% of Democrats, regardless of who they voted for, would be happy or content or not upset. I'm not precisely sure the adjective, if John Kerry was the nominee. What that says to me is, and we don't say this often about Democrats, they are quite united.
That's right. John Kerry is not a niche candidate. He's not a candidate of the left or of the center. He's a candidate with broad appeal across the party. Look, he won African Americans in several states. Not South Carolina, but in Delaware and Missouri. He won Latinos in Arizona. He also won white voters. He won union voters and non-union voters. He won seniors and he won non-seniors. The situation he finds himself in is he has broad appeal across the entire spectrum of the Democratic Party, and all of his competitors have or had niche appeal, like Howard Dean, whose appeal is really limited to the left wing of the party, and he's looking for states like Washington and Wisconsin where those voters are strong. Joe Lieberman depended on Bush Democrats. There aren't enough of them for him even to make a showing. John Edwards, of course, has Southern appeal. He's got to show he's beyond that niche. Al Sharpton's base is among African Americans. Wesley Clark does have support among those Democrats who vote on national security. That's his strong suit, but that's not the paramount concern of most Democrats these days. So here's a guy who appeals to everybody, being sort of pecked to death by these candidates in their various niches.
We've had 3 nights like this now, and has there been any interesting or noticeable change in what the exit polling data is telling us?
Well, there is a rallying effect we see around John Kerry. He's become more and more acceptable to Democrats. They like him. They don't like Howard Dean. I think Howard Dean collapsed because while his message was very popular, the message of empowerment for Democrats who are intensely disempowered right now, the message was good and it sold. But once they got to look at the man, they said, we can't elect this man president. I think with Kerry, the more they look at him, the more they like. He's a tough guy. He's a very masculine Democrat. He has a war record. And they think he can stand next to President Bush and talk credibly about national security, match him on that issue, and then go on to what Democrats really want to talk about, which is 2.5 million jobs lost and the growing health care crisis in America.
Perhaps this is redundant. Does the data suggest to us that they will vote in a general election, should it come to this, for John Kerry or against George Bush?
Against George Bush. Whenever an incumbent is running for re-election, the incumbent is the issue. And right now, Americans are closely divided about President Bush. The most interesting thing I know about these primaries so far is that they have taken a real toll. This fight among Democrats has taken a toll, but not on Democrats. It's taken a toll on President Bush. His ratings have really plummeted over the last month. He's at the lowest approval rating of his career. And look, you can't say he was totally out of the picture. My recollection is he gave a State of the Union speech. But as you recall, the State of the Union speech didn't seem to go over very well, and his ratings have really taken a tumble. So this election will be a referendum on Bush, and right now that election looks very close.
Well, just trying to put these polls in context a little bit here. That State of the Union speech was sandwiched literally, I think, between Iowa at one end and New Hampshire on the other. And you're right that it didn't seem to play great, and the attacks started the day after. And these attacks do have a way of influencing polls.
That's right. And of course, the White House argues correctly they haven't even begun to fight back. They have over $100 million and no primary opponent. So I'd say sometime in the next few weeks, since Kerry is now the likely nominee, not certain, but likely only 10% of the delegates have been chosen, but you're going to see the White House beginning to run some ads, probably tough ads, against John Kerry, trying to label him as another Massachusetts liberal Democrat in the mold of Ted Kennedy and Michael Dukakis. They've got to be digging into his record. I mean, you know what? I'm able exclusively to reveal John Kerry speaks French.
Oh,
he went to a Swiss boarding school.
Oh, my goodness.
You can be sure that's going to come out.
Well, it's out now. Thank you, Mr. Schneider. I reminded someone today, a viewer today, that Michael Dukakis left the convention in Atlanta with an 18-point or 16-point lead. So
exactly right.
The attention they get does have an effect on how polls play. Bill, thank you for staying up late.
Sure.
More to talk about here. It is February 4th, the last time we looked. CNN analyst Donna Brazil is with us. She was Al Gore's campaign manager back in 2000. Representative Darrell Issa of California, Republican, joins us from Washington. We're glad they both stayed up late to spend some time chatting on what has been an interesting night. Donna, is the end near?
Well, I don't believe it is. Look, over the next 6 days, you have some very important contests, including the Michigan caucuses, the Virginia primary. You also have Tennessee on the horizon. I believe these candidates will continue to cherry pick states that they believe they can win in order to try to catch up with John Kerry, who will continue to run a very strong national campaign.
I heard rumblings today that within organized labor there is a desire now to start to move behind Kerry a little more forcefully to try and put pressure on some of the others to perhaps end it earlier than they might like. Do you hear any of that?
Absolutely. Look, the American Federation of Teachers, one of the largest unions, will be endorsing John Kerry tomorrow. We keep hearing word that the Service Employees Union is looking to, help Howard Dean over the next 2 or 3 days, but they're not going to spend all of their resources on a lost cause. I am sure that organized labor, which, as you well know, in the Democratic Party is a very, very important element of Democratic victories, the House of Labor want to come together and unify behind one campaign and one candidate.
Congressman, weigh in on all of this. You must be a little bit bemused by it all to see this fighting going on the other side. At the same time, it is a bit sobering to see Democrats so united, I would think, for a single cause, which is to defeat the president.
Well, I certainly agree with Donna that the unions are going to play a heavy part in making this final cut, in all likelihood in favor of Kerry. What I think is interesting tonight, though, is that once and for all, if you will, the Clinton legacy has been rejected. The idea that you can run the way Joe Lieberman did as a centrist or conservative Democrat has been resoundingly defeated. Basically, it's going to be a question of, and you said it earlier, liberal or more liberal. Dean isn't acceptable because he's unstable and unpredictable, but Kerry has, on key issues, a 100% voting record with Senator Kennedy and a 94% lifetime voting record with Senator Kennedy. So there's no question that even though he talks tough, He's voted 7 times against supporting the military. He's voted for reductions in military spending. He promises veterans now, but where has he been for the last 2 decades?
You got your talking points down pretty well tonight, Congressman, and I honestly mean that respectfully. I understand the game that's in play here. What you are setting up, it seems to me, is a classic, almost literal redo of where we were in 1988.
Well, I think there is a legitimate redo. The question is, the president has been faced with a war that we didn't ask for, an attack that we didn't expect, and a history of al-Qaeda building under the previous administration. He has reacted strongly and firmly with the best intelligence available. The American people know that. Would they like the war to be going better? Would they like yellow alerts to end? Of course. But I think when they start evaluating a, albeit war hero in Senator Kerry, against a strong leader who has conducted this war in the best possible fashion that anyone, including Senator Kerry, can actually talk about. What would he have done differently? Nobody has a, well, I would have done this specifically. They say, well, I would have talked longer. I would have done this longer. The fact is, you know, Senator Kerry right now is getting a bump because he's able to do things like imply that service in the National Guard isn't equivalent to service in any other part of our active or reserve forces.
Well, we're just on that point, I really don't want to go down this road, but come on here for a second. I mean, a lot of us, and I include myself in this, were able to avoid service in Vietnam because we got into the reserves. Now, I'm not saying the president was AWOL or any of that stuff, but if that's going to be the issue, that's a kind of dangerous road for you guys to be walking down.
No, it's not. Look, it's not my issue. It's Senator Kerry's issue. It's Terry McAuliffe's issue. The fact is, when I served in 1970 and went through basic training, I went through with National Guardsmen, reservists, and active guys like myself, regular Army. And I didn't know whether I was going to Vietnam in 1970. What I did know is some of the National Guardsmen going through basic with me, their units were already in Vietnam.
I understand.
And to sell short reserve or National Guard duty as dodging the draft, when so many people I served with in the House and the Senate, so many people, including our last president, clearly avoided all military service, I think is doing a disservice to the National Guard and to the reserve forces, particularly at a time when Iraq and Afghanistan are filled with those forces.
I find different times, but fair point. I really don't want to go. I'll let candidates go down that road if they want. Donna, take the last word on this. Can the Democrats, do you believe, in your heart, neutralize the national security issue so that they can make this a campaign ultimately about those other things that polls suggest they run better on, the economy, health care, and you know the rest?
That's correct. Look, I do believe that Democrats can make a credible case that as a party and that we can lead America into a new century of peace and prosperity. I also believe that Senator John Kerry is not Michael Dukakis. I work for Michael Dukakis. He's not Michael Dukakis. He's not going to allow the Republicans to paint him as some liberal, out of touch, out of the mainstream type individual. This is a guy who, when Bill Clinton wanted to balance the budget, he was there. When Bill Clinton wanted to end welfare as we knew it, he was there. John Kerry is someone who's in the mainstream of our party. Just because he grew up and lives in Massachusetts does not mean that people in America and middle America will not embrace him. Look what happened today in Missouri. And, of course, Congressman, he's coming out to California soon. I'm sure he's going to wipe some clocks out there as well.
Don, it's good.
Well, I look forward to seeing him there, but let's not forget that in 1991, this is Senator Kerry who voted against the first Gulf War, and now he wants to talk about how he'd be tougher on defense. When we had a clear and present danger with Saddam and the world rallied, he ran away. That's going to be a debate that John Kerry will likely have with George Bush.
I'll leave the line open. You guys can keep going, but I got to take a break here. Thank you both for staying up. We'll be right back.
CNN Tomorrow, Ed Bradley of 60 Minutes, his first interview since his controversial chat with Michael Jackson. Ed Bradley takes your calls. Larry King Live, CNN Tomorrow, 9 Eastern.
Burt's is giving away the store. Go to Burt's during February and get any suit regular price, and second suit only $29.99. That's right, you get a second suit for only $29.99. Burt's also have matching shoes like Giorgio Brutini, regular $69.99, now $29.99. Burt's also have a large selection of men jeans, only $10.99. You will find sweaters and winter tops, only $10.99. Go to Burt's and buy men microfiber dress slacks, regular $19.99, now $5.99. Go to either of Burt's 6 locations for their biggest sale ever. What's the name? Burt's.
Medical Mobility is a locally owned company dedicated to helping individuals maintain an active lifestyle. Whether it's a power wheelchair, a scooter, a stairway elevator, or one of our other daily living aid products, you will find that we take pride in you, our customer, and we will always be here when you need us.
They're just like a big family, and I love every one of them.
Medical Mobility, making your life better because we like people. Now with locations in Nashville, Murfreesboro, and Cookeville.
CNN, America's campaign headquarters.
NewsNight with Aaron Brown is brought to you by ExxonMobil, taking on the world's toughest energy challenges.
The world won't slow down while we find new ways to fuel cars.
ExxonMobil is engaged in research on a whole variety of advanced vehicle systems, including gasoline fuel cell vehicles.
This technology allows us to make a significant improvement in fuel economy, as well as a 50% reduction in emissions.
The challenge is how do we supply the growing demand for energy in the world with a lower environmental impact? That's the journey that we're on.
ExxonMobil, taking on the world's toughest energy challenges.
There's a thief in your office who steals daily, and it's not an employee. Don't let your copier steal company profits.
Tomorrow's headlines have already been written, of course, deadlines being what they are, and the candidates are not looking back. There are big races ahead, and soon, on Saturday, Michigan, Washington State, Sunday, Maine, next Tuesday, Tennessee and Virginia. That's where we go now. The next stops, the next steps for the candidates. Joel Connolly is national correspondent and a columnist for the Seattle PI, the Post-Intelligencer, been with the paper 28 years. And his good work is a reminder that not all political wisdom resides in Washington, D.C. We're glad to see him again, an old friend. Seattle, Washington, Western Washington certainly is Howard Dean country. Is it Howard Dean's last stand?
It's likely to be. Bill Bradley put on his last stand against Al Gore here 4 years ago, went to ground for a week and ended up with 35% of the vote. Dean, I think if he is to win any place, he has to win here. This is a place where they've been having their blogging sessions, their meetups. They've cleaned up beaches, they've rocked, they've turned out in great numbers for the candidate, and now they have the final and the most important job, which is perhaps to rescue him.
Look, you're a pretty smart political guy. Does anyone out there believe Howard Dean at this point can get the nomination and win the election?
There tends to be a certain kind of insularity to the liberal movement in this area. It goes back many, many years. Franklin Roosevelt's political strategist, James Farley, once talked of an America of 47 states and the Soviet Republic of Washington. Still, Senator Kerry has been gaining in leaps and bounds. Our junior U.S. Senator has bounded on board his campaign. Our governor has leapt on his campaign. Yeah. 3 members of the House have endorsed. So there is a surge toward Kerry. And we've had one brave congressman here who stuck with him through thick and thin, Adam Smith, who has put together a first-rate organization.
I asked somebody earlier if you thought that Democrats were going to vote for John Kerry if it came to that, or were going to vote against the president, that they had this strong anti-Bush feeling. I suspect, I know Seattle reasonably well, that Democrats ultimately, if it's Kerry, will be just fine out there.
I think they will unite behind him, but there's still some fussing, some factionalism, some ideology. I remember 4 years ago, feminist demonstrators outside Al Gore's limousine chanting, "Hey, hey, ho, ho, patrimony has got to go." And we'll still have a little more of that than elsewhere in the country. But ultimately, this has been a contest that has raced rather than spilled the party's blood.
As you've looked at the race overall from your almost perfect corner of the world out there in Seattle, what has surprised you?
Basically, the enormous shifts of opinion first. Secondly, the practicality of the Democrats of Iowa and New Hampshire, again looking for somebody sturdy enough to defeat President Bush. I was amazed when I went to Iowa and went to the university towns, which I expected to be great centers of the Deniacs, instead to find far more sober, practical considerations going on, and people divided between Kerry and Edwards. Also, that this seemingly initially undistinguished field has somehow turned into one that has captured the attention of the country. And we've now seen the president's job approval ratings going way down, not simply where we live, where there's active opposition to him and always has been, but also in all those red states between us and the East Coast.
Good to see you. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Joel Connolly, who writes for the Seattle PI, one of the 2 morning papers in Seattle, at least for now. Coming up on Newsnight, some of the day's other top stories. Latest on the Kobe Bryant case, some key information about conversations between Mr. Bryant and police. That and more as Newsnight continues from New York.
Simple, really. If we could get everybody in the country to drive the all-new Chevy Malibu, we think they'd agree. It's just about perfect. The new Chevrolets, an American revolution.
When you refinance your mortgage, you're presented with a list of closing costs that may add up to thousands of dollars. Well, at Ditech.com, we've cut those closing costs down to just $395 with our Ditech One fee. No points, no broker fee, no other closing costs, period. Why pay more? The $395 Ditech One fee from Ditech.com. Just call 1-800-DITECH-1 or log on to Ditech.com.
It's my other office.
It's your thing. Do what you want to do.
I voted.
I can't tell you who to sock you to.
I'm going to see my boyfriend.
Every day, public transportation helps people do their thing.
Pet store.
And when people thrive, communities thrive. Public transportation, wherever life takes you.
What's wrong, hon?
I brought the wrong color. I can't go out like this.
It can't be all that bad. I guess we're not going Outback.
I'll get my coat.
There's no place like Outback for our fresh crab cakes and royal pork catch.
You're looking pretty rare, Mrs. D.
Thank you.
Outback Steakhouse. No rules, just right.
Whoa, my high school reunion's coming up.
Let's knock them dead. Go, 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 go!
Yoga on Friday?
Everybody's doing it.
3, 4, and
very sharp.
I got invited to an after party.
Can you bring a friend?
Life's better with the Butterfly. Come see all the ways you can get more done at MSN.com.
Tomorrow, the polls say Kerry versus Bush could be a very tight race. We'll look at both of their military service records and ask how much will it matter to voters. Plus, what's the secret both men share? Find out. I'm Paula Zahn, CNN tomorrow.
To put together the political puzzle this election year, you'll want more than just one angle. Trust CNN throughout the race. America Votes 2004 is here on CNN, America's campaign headquarters.
Quick look at some of the stories that made news around the country today, starting with the poison ricin. Tests have now confirmed what was found yesterday in the Senate mailroom was ricin. So far, no one who was in the area has reported any ill effects. Thankfully, 3 Senate buildings were closed today, and a criminal investigation is underway. Florida investigators say they now believe that 11-year-old Carly Bushia was kidnapped and that her abductor planned the crime. The 6th grader disappeared Sunday. while walking home from a friend's house. Surveillance video taken outside a car wash that evening shows her being approached and then led away by a man with a tattoo on each arm. The FBI hopes to get more clues by enhancing the video. The images on the video. And Texas Tech officials say earlier rumors notwithstanding, they have not suspended basketball coach Bobby Knight. Think of the tantrum he'd throw if they did. But they are looking into an argument he had yesterday with the school's chancellor, the day before yesterday, at a grocery store. One of college basketball's most successful coaches, Mr. Knight, is also infamous, to say the least, for his temper. In a Colorado courtroom today, it was July the 2nd, 2003, 25 hours after a 19-year-old woman was allegedly raped by basketball star Kobe Bryant. Another day of testimony and another pre-trial hearing, this one to determine whether information and evidence was obtained illegally from the defendant, Mr. Bryant, in the days just after the accusation. What was said and what was done could dramatically shape how this trial unfolds this spring. Reporting for us, CNN's Gary Tuckman.
24 hours after he allegedly sexually assaulted a hotel employee, did Kobe Bryant tell sheriff's deputies to, quote, do the best investigating you can and then shake their hands? That's what two detectives said under oath in court, testifying they secretly audiotaped Bryant talking to them consensually. The Los Angeles Lakers star, who looked under the weather one day after calling in sick and missing court, her detectives testified that he went for a sexual assault exam after the police interview, once again emphasizing it was done consensually.
It's pretty ironic that this motions hearing gets down to an issue of consent, much like the trial will. Here the issue is, did Kobe Bryant consent to his activities with the detectives? At trial, did this young lady consent to her activities with Kobe Bryant?
The prosecution wants to use the still sealed taped interview with Bryant in a trial, despite the fact he was not read his rights. Prosecutors say since he was not under arrest or in custody, that wasn't necessary. Defense attorneys want the interview and evidence gathered from it thrown out by the judge, saying police made several errors, including making Bryant feel like he was in custody. Bryant, who showed up in court with a bandage around a finger he injured from an accident he says he had in his garage, reserves the right to give his side of the story when the hearing resumes on March 1st. But his attorneys have not indicated if that will happen. If it does, and it might be hard to overcome testimony from the lead detective that he told Bryant, quote, you are not under arrest, and you are free to leave.
I don't see how the defense can succeed. After all, both detectives testified that they told Kobe Bryant, hey, you're not under arrest, you are free to go.
There was one other topic discussed during this two-day motions hearing, whether the accuser's medical history should be left confidential. The judge will likely make his decision via a written order. When is unknown. Gary Tuckman, CNN, Eagle, Colorado.
Quick look at some business headlines before we go to break, starting with the much-anticipated moment in the Martha Stewart trial. The prosecution's star witness, Douglas Fanuel, testified today that his boss ordered him to pass along a tip to Ms. Stewart just before she sold her shares in ImClone Systems. Mr. Fanuel's statements contradict the claims of Ms. Stewart and her broker that there was a pre-existing agreement to sell the stock once it hit a certain price. Still smarting from the now infamous wardrobe malfunction at the Super Bowl halftime show, CBS today said Sunday's Grammy Awards will be enhanced tape delay. CBS did not mention the Super Bowl or Janet Jackson or any body parts in its statement. Finally, to Wall Street, all the indexes or indices, I'm never sure which is right, were up slightly. I am sure of that. Still to come on NewsNight or News Morning, separating church and state and the question of whether banning religious clothing is carrying things too far. The story from France as we continue around the world.
Moneyline Roundup is brought to you by Bank of America. Higher standards.
I got customers coming in from 4 corners of the world. To them, this is the bank of US of A. These are self-made individuals in this neighborhood. We understand that and what that means. They have saved sizable amounts of money that they entrust to us, and they come to us every day for financial advice. Some of these businesses are third generation. Most of them definitely second generation. As any merchant or shop owner, the first bank that would pop up would be Bank of America. I'm Hutchins Hung. I'm a banker, and I'm proud to be part of Bank of America. We're not too big of a bank, even to the smallest business. We still offer them the most sophisticated banking there is in this world. We're proud to be the cornerstone of the neighborhood. So when the neighborhood succeeds, Bank of America succeeds. I always have my breakfast here. Try the rice cake. It's the best in the city. Bank of America. Higher standards.
It's not someone else's dream. It's yours. It's not someone else's future. It's the only one you get. So when it comes to investing for that future, we think you deserve our complete attention. All our understanding, and then some. The deepest knowledge. The most independent advice. Someone who listens to you, like you are the only investor in the world. Raymond James.
You'd expect a luxury sedan to have aerodynamic lines. But Lexus engineers went a step further. Dimpled panels were used on the undercarriage to reduce noise and lower wind resistance. So it's aerodynamic from every angle.
At BASF, we don't make the seats. We make them more comfortable. We don't make the lipstick, we make it brighter. We don't make the jacket, we make it warmer. We don't make the floor, we make it tougher. We don't make a lot of the products you buy, we make a lot of the products you buy better. BASF.
CNN Tomorrow protests violent clashes, a government on the brink. In an exclusive interview, Anderson Cooper talked with Haitian President Jean Bertrand Aristide. What went wrong? Can it be fixed? Don't miss 360. CNN Tomorrow, 7 Eastern.
French Parliament today began debating a bill outlining conspicuous religious symbols in public schools. Jewish skullcaps, yarmulkes, Christian crosses would be banned, but it's understood the bill is aimed at Muslim headscarves. France has the largest Muslim population in Western Europe. The move to ban the headscarves has triggered protests around the world. Interestingly, both sides say freedom is the issue. As you might imagine, they see it very differently. Here's CNN's Jim Bitterman.
After years of discussion and months of investigations, the French National Assembly now faces days of debate over what to do about banning religious symbols from schools, most notably Muslim headscarves. It's a measure of the emotions surrounding the issue that Prime Minister Jean-Pierre Raffarin himself opened the arguments with an impassioned plea.
Laïcité est une liberté.
Secular education represents the freedom of thinking the future. It allows serene and peaceful dialogue between religions and the states inside our own country. The values of our secular education guarantee the neutrality of the state and all its agents.
The government argues that young girls are being coerced into wearing headscarves by their peers or parents, or in some instances, fundamentalist Muslim groups. A presidential commission investigated the issue for 6 months and concluded after hearing closed-door testimony that pressure is being put on young Muslim women.
It is more of a political battle than a religious one, from groups whose objective is to combat the values of the foundation of the Republic, notably equal rights between men and women, and against racism and anti-Semitism.
But some Muslim women and even more Muslim men have taken to the streets to show they feel just the opposite. Both sides say freedom is the issue. Those in favor of a law saying young girls must be free to choose not to wear headscarves. And those against saying women should be free to choose what they wear.
You know what bothers me? To protect those who don't want to wear the headscarf. We are telling those who do to take their headscarves off. It's not coherent.
The legislators will discuss the law until Thursday and then take a vote on it next Tuesday. But it seems highly unlikely it will be defeated. 2/3 of the National Assembly belongs to the government party, and even some opposition socialists say they're going to vote in favor of the legislation, perhaps because public opinion polls indicate 7 out of 10 French are in favor of banning headscarves in schools. Jim Bitterman, CNN, Paris.
Ahead on the program this morning, we go back to politics. We'll hear what the candidates had to say tonight. A break first. From New York, this is NewsNight.
Medical news from the makers of Centrum multivitamins. After reviewing over 100 studies on the impact vitamins have on our health, a major report in a leading medical journal recommends that all adults take a multivitamin daily to help reduce the risk of chronic diseases such as heart disease, cancer, and osteoporosis. And the multivitamin recommended most by doctors? Centrum. And if you're over 50, Centrum Silver. Always complete, from A to zinc.
CNN Tomorrow, Ed Bradley of 60 Minutes, his first interview since his controversial chat with Michael Jackson. Ed Bradley takes your calls. Larry King Live, CNN Tomorrow, 90s.
Unfinished Furniture Megamart is the place to start creating a space just for you. Holidays behind, spring ahead. Think reading corner or a new office armoire just for you. With any of our large selection of all wood bookshelves, computer desks, chairs, entertainment centers, there is a corner in your house that can be used in a new and different way. We have what you need, whether it's for cookbooks, computers, or TV, right here, right now. Don't wait until yard work beckons. Come to Unfinished Furniture Megamart and make a space for you.
Unfinished Furniture Megamart. Naturally smart.
Legendary integrity, inviting boldness, endearing imperfections, and timeless appeal. Where relaxed meets refined. Gentlemen's Quarters from Palmer Home.
Palmer Home, now on sale through February 17th at Crescent Furniture.
My problem with the dish, basically in bad weather with strong winds, I would always lose my connection. This thing's like a sail. The dish company told me to put it in a bucket of cement. I'm thinking to myself, where am I going to mix cement? I live in an apartment! So I built this. It seemed to work. Sorta. Enough was enough. I called Comcast, they came out, and in no time I had digital cable. It works great. No assembly required.
CNN, America's campaign headquarters.
In the end, days like this come down to words. What to say when the projections are in and the races have been called, when it's clear who's won and who's lost. Everyone knew at the start of the day the field probably would be smaller by day's end, and it is. All the candidates hope for a mandate to go on. How they defined it and what lies ahead came down to words.
Tonight, we stand at a crossroads. Will we have a leader, a president, who actually understands the problems of working people? Will we have the courage to use new, fresh ideas to solve old problems like poverty? Will we have the strength and conviction to make this vision of hope and optimism into a reality? If the American people give me a shot at George Bush next November, I will give them back the White House. It is their White House.
Well, the votes are starting to come in, and we're going to have a tough night tonight. But you know what? Here's why we're going to keep going and going and going and going and going, just like the energizing butter. We're gonna pick up some delegates tonight, and this is all about who gets the most delegates in Boston in July, and it's going to be us.
For me, it is now time to make a difficult but realistic decision. After looking at the returns and speaking with my family team, I have decided tonight to end my quest for the presidency of the United States of America. Am I disappointed? Naturally. But am I proud of what we stood for in this campaign? You bet I am.
We came to South Carolina with no money, no paid staff, no TV ads, preached in about 25, 26 churches, They brought every official they could in, put them on television commercials. And not only did we come in double digits, what no one thought we would do, we doubled Howard Dean, tripled Joe Lieberman. I think that this has been an astounding boost in the arm for the Sharpton campaign.
Everywhere I have been, the people of our nation are determined to restore hope and to change the direction of our country. Together, we can lift our country up to the America that it can become. And at the heart of this campaign is a commitment to an America where the future is built on fairness for all, not on a privilege for few.
Today, across the country, Democrats went to the polls. And tonight, the people have spoken. And the message they sent couldn't be clearer. America wants a higher standard of leadership in Washington. And there is no party more committed to that. No party more committed to the American people. No party more committed to lifting people up than this party, my party, this Democratic Party.
General Wesley Clark and the others on how they viewed the night. Morning papers, how editors viewed the night after the break.
Imagine how much energy it takes to fuel an entire city of 1 million households, day and night, for 6 years. That's how much energy Kerr-McGee will recover from just one deep water field with just one production spar that produces offshore oil and gas where we couldn't before. Nobody delivers America's energy to Americans like the deep water explorers of Kerr-McGee.